Hey guys, as promised, today we are talking about that dirty 5-letter word, pricing. I say it's a dirty little word, but honestly, pricing is what leads to profit. So we really need to change our mindset and the way we think about pricing our product. A lot of us don't want our customers to feel uncomfortable, and we don't want to feel uncomfortable with our prices. So we just go ahead and pick a price, and we really don't do much investigating as to how much profit it's bringing us. I have personally struggled with underpricing and undervaluing my time, and I don't want you to make the same mistake. It's still something I'm trying to change, and I'm just trying to work on my mindset with how I feel even about money, not just the whole pricing aspect of my product. My biggest fault is that I know how to make a lot of things, and I take my time for granted, and I take my skill set for granted. I also come from a place where I don't have the best relationship with money. I used to not have very much of it at all, so I underpriced because I knew that I personally couldn't afford some of the prices I should have been charging. So raise your hand if you think you were probably underpricing. If you're pricing too low, you're hurting your own pocket and you're hurting shops that are pricing correctly. If shops are trying to keep their prices competitive to another shop who is underpricing, in the long run, nobody is winning at this whole price game. In the same aspect, you don't want to overprice either, because there are so many places to get products these days that a shopper can quickly leave your overpriced product and find something that they think is more affordable. That's why this whole pricing thing takes time. You need to do some investigating, some calculating, and you probably even need to do some experimenting with your prices. On the worksheet I shared yesterday, I gave you a couple examples or calculations on pricing, but I don't think that these calculations are a one-size-fits-all. What works for one shop may not work for another, and what works for one product may not work for another. So that's why I'm saying this really involves some experimenting and some calculation. One of the calculations I shared yesterday was materials plus labor plus expenses plus profit equals your wholesale price. And your wholesale price times 2 equals your retail price. I've plugged some of the numbers for products that I used to make a few years ago into that calculation, and what I determined is I feel like my product would be severely overpriced if I went with that calculation, just due to the nature of the item. The other calculation I shared is materials times 2 plus labor plus expenses plus profit equals retail. I've created a worksheet for today, and it is the calculating price worksheet. And what I did was I plugged in the numbers from hair ties, which I used to sell wholesale to salons, and I used to sell on Etsy, and they were wildly popular before everybody started selling them. And I plugged the prices of some of those in, and I just wanted to go over the pricing worksheet with you, or the calculating price worksheet with you, and see what I came up with. I'm going to go through this sheet with you, and I'm going to use the hair ties I have pictured here as an example of how we are going to go through this worksheet, but you're going to use your own product. Cost of supplies is where you're going to literally list the cost of every single supply that goes into making your product. So for the example of the hair ties, I have 3 different hair ties, and the cost for those 3 different hair ties is also different. The solid color hair ties are going to be cheaper than the glitter and the printed hair ties. The fold over elastic comes in 5-yard increments, and I know that I can make 18 hair ties for every 5 yards. So what I did is I took the price of the 5 yards of fabric and I divided by 18, and that's how I got the price for each hair tie. So the solid color hair ties are $3.50 for 5 yards, which means it's 19 cents per solid color hair tie. The elastic and the striped hair ties are $1.50 per yard. So those are roughly 38 cents per hair tie. So I've got a 19-cent hair tie, a 38-cent hair tie, and another 38-cent hair tie. And that's basically, those are the only supplies that I need to make these. I just knot them around my finger, pull it, and I do use a lighter, but a lighter lasts me through hundreds of hair ties. So we'll talk about the price of that lighter here in a little bit. Then I want you to add up the cost of packaging. When I package these, I put all 3 of them on one of those little pillow boxes as I showed in the picture. And those, depending on where I can find them, I do pay sometimes up to $1 a box. So I'm just gonna say that it costs $1. I put those inside a cute little cello bag, like the lip and tape cello bag, which is 10 cents each. When I ship it, I put it in a poly mailer with a shipping label on top of that. So I know that the poly mailer costs 10 cents and the shipping label costs 5 cents. So I'm going to list all 4 of those things: the pillow box, the cello bag, the poly mailer, and the shipping label. Which leads us to other costs. There are definitely other costs involved in your product. I mean, do you have to have internet in order to run this online business of yours? Yes. You have to have electricity, right? So this is where things get a little confusing, but this is also where I want you, if you're going to offer free shipping, this is where I want you to list that shipping cost so you can build that into your price. I want you to consider any gas that you're using if you're going to the post office to ship your stuff, or if you're driving to Michael's to buy supplies, you need to be calculating any gas cost that you're incurring, or you need to track your mileage at the end. Oh, what else? I just said don't forget costs such as gas and internet. So that's where you're going to list these things. And calculating like the electricity and the internet and stuff can get really confusing. So I know that you might not add that in right away. That might be something you come back to and just look at your internet costs for the month and then determine how many products you sold over the course of the month and kind of work it in that way. Cost of product labor. Decide how much you want to be paid per hour. For my example, I'm going to say I want to be paid $14 an hour. And then I want you to calculate how long it takes you to make your product. Making 3 hair ties, I can literally do in 5 minutes or maybe even less. So let's just go with 5 minutes. I'm going to take the $14 an hour times 5 minutes, which is 0.12 hours. And then it's going to bring me to $1.12. $1.12 is how much I'm going to charge for my time and labor to create this product. Cost of shop labor. Shop labor is going to be how long did it take you to do pictures of that product? How long did it take you to list that product and create the listing? And obviously that is, again, something that you can reuse over and over if you don't just sell one-off products. So for me, I could list these hair ties in my shop and just keep selling them over and over and over without having to change the photos, without having to change the listing. So I'd say maybe I'm gonna sell 50 of these before I need to maybe take a look and change the listing or update the photos. So let's say that it takes me 30 minutes to do a listing and take the photos of my product. And then I'm not gonna probably touch or change that for at least 50 listings. I'm going to take my $14 an hour, I'm going to multiply it by 30 minutes. So 14 times 0.5, that's $7. And then I'm going to divide that $7 by 50 because I'm going to reuse that for 50 listings. And that brings me to 14 cents. So put 14 cents there on your cost of shop labor. The last expense or cost we are going to talk about are fees. And so if you're selling on Etsy, you're always going to pay that 20-cent listing fee each time you list a new product or if you renew a product. So if you sell something and then you have it on automatic renew, they're just going to charge you that 20 cents right then and there to add that product back into your shop. So it's showing for sale still. You also probably are paying some sort of fee if you are using credit cards, PayPal. If you're selling on Etsy, you're going to pay 3% for them to do payment. So if somebody pays with their credit card through Etsy, it's 3% plus a flat 25 cents on top of that. Etsy is also charging you 5% of every sale, including shipping. And that's what they're going to keep. So the 20 cents is the listing fee. The 5% is what Etsy's making off of you for using their platform basically. And then the 3% plus 25 cents is what they're keeping to process credit cards and payments for you. If you're selling and you're using PayPal, they're also charging you a fee to use PayPal and process that transaction. If you're selling on WooCommerce, then you may be paying a yearly price to use some of their different tools. I know I used it and paid so I could do memberships and subscriptions on my website. And then if you're using PayPal or however you're taking their payments, I use Braintree. They're going to also charge me a fee every time somebody makes a payment through that. Even if you're selling on Facebook and you're using PayPal or you're using Venmo, you're probably paying some sort of fee. I know Venmo, Cash App, they all charge a fee once you transfer that money to your bank account. So unless you found some sort of workaround or you're waiting however long to get a paper check, plan on paying those fees. What I want you to do is take all the prices and the fees and everything that we just talked about. I want you to add up that column there on the right and put them in the bottom red box, and that is going to be the total cost to make your product. So that includes your labor and your supplies and your material. And then flip it over, and I've got 4 boxes. The top box, the total cost, that's where you're gonna put the total cost from sheet 1. So my total cost for the 3 hair ties, and I'm including shipping, so it also includes the shipping price, labor, and all the things that we just talked about, is $7.05. So from that, you need to determine how much do you want to make as a profit. I know in some of those calculations we said profit could be calculated in a specific way, but this is where I want you to determine how you're going to do your profit. I'm just going to say I want to make $1 in profit off of each hair tie. So that would mean my wholesale price for a pack of hair ties, which I might need to tweak since I have built-in shipping. I would probably take that shipping price out of there, but let's just keep going. Let's say that would be $8.05. So let's say our shipping is $2.05. So my wholesale price would actually be $6. All right. And from that, we're going to determine our retail price. If we are selling hair ties, a 3-pack of hair ties for $6 as wholesale, then what are we going to mark that up to? So another question you could think of this as, if you're selling these as wholesale to $6 to the salon down the street, how much would they sell them for now so that they're still making a profit? And so I would say that probably I would mark them up if I'm selling them wholesale for $6. I think $8 to $9 would be a fair price. And then, that would be your retail price. So you're going to use things like profit to possibly put back into your business or to kind of save for a rainy day, save if you have anything that goes wrong. I know one time I used my silhouette for a lot of projects and my silhouette cutting machine, and it right before Christmas when I'm busy trying to fill the orders stopped working. So I had to go out 2 weeks before Christmas in the middle of my busiest season and buy a whole new silhouette machine. So you want to save it for things like that, or upgrading, making things a little easier for you. You want to upgrade your tools. Sometimes products or supplies you're using wear out and you have to buy a new one. So that's where I was talking about, like the lighters I use to make hair ties. Very cheap, but obviously after a couple hundred hair ties, I'm going to need a new lighter. I know you probably are thinking of some sort of question, or this seems really confusing, but guys, this is really important. I'm about to go plug in the numbers for the t-shirts I sell in my Etsy shop into my price calculating worksheet I shared with you today. And fingers crossed, I'm not underpricing, but I know I typically do. So I want you to play around with this sheet. And if you have any feedback, any questions, please just hit me up on Instagram at PoofyCheeksBlog, or you can email me. So I hope this helped you, and I hope this worksheet is going to be invaluable to you, and I'll see you tomorrow.